All right, we are recording. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here I am in this project. Nothing has been done yet. As far as I know, I've already done the yarn install or for you guys npm install. So I think all my node modules should be working. Let's go ahead and look at the actual, see, is it here? I have it here. Is it car sales? Awesome. All right, so what are we supposed to do? That's the first thing to figure out. We've already done all this stuff. We've already installed our dependencies and we've already gotten our new branch MVP requirement. So it wants us to plan out things, take a look at the project, see what kind of state we're going to need. And then it wants us to start implementing. So it wants us to build a reducer and of course our actions. Okay, and this is kind of the step-by-step stuff right here. But remember, we're going to be using the actual just useReducer at first, because there's some people that are like having trouble with the actual reducer workflow. So I think that's where we're going to actually start. And this is actually a little difficult for me because I don't actually, this is from my old project, I don't actually use the reducer pattern. I always just use Redux. But it's good to know the actual reducer pattern because you may come on to a project where, you know, that's what they're using. They're just using a normal reducer. So I think that's where I'm going to start. I'm just going to start making the reducer. So let's go ahead and make a reducer directory. So we'll put it in source reducers. And I'm gonna, I don't like to use the index thing because I've worked on a project where somebody really liked to use the index method where like it makes importing shorter, but it makes it really harder to, a lot harder to negotiate, like going through and navigating the project. So I don't do that. So I'm actually gonna name my reducer, car reducer.js. All right. All right, so we have our car reducer. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can start with initial state. You can start building the reducer. I think the first thing it said in the MVP was to move state to the reducer. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And here's our state right here. So let's go ahead and move this right here over to the reducer. Actually, I'm going to take that semicolon with me. Control C, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that here just for reference. We'll have to delete it later, but all right. And I'm going to call that initial state. Initial state, and I'm going to fix all my indentions. That's a pet peeve of mine. All right, so there's our initial state. That's really easy. They gave it to us. It's really awesome. Let's go ahead and start making our reducer. Const car reducer. All right, so what two arguments does a reducer always take?
Initial state and action.
That's right, state and action. State, and we're going to give state a default value of initial state, just in case someone calls this reducer and does not actually set up state. All right, so state equals initial state and action. Right on. So there is our reducer, and I always export the reducer by default. Car reducer, and that's not required. That's just a style choice. If you wanted to, you could just do export const and export it like as an object, kind of like we're going to do with initial state. export const initial state. All right. Okay. Go
I think
ahead.
I'm just gonna watch the recording because you guys are going a little bit too fast for me, and I'm getting overwhelmed.
All right. Well, dude, just like if you this is to help you, man. So like if you need clarifications on something, feel free to like spit it out, man.
All
Like
right.
I have nowhere to go. If this takes over 2 hours, I'm fine with that. You know what
All
I'm
right.
saying? The only reason I'm here right now is to make this clear for you guys.
Well, I just feel bad because I learn a lot slower than the average person, so I just don't want
Or
to.
you learn the same speed as other people and you're just the only one brave enough to say something. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep that in mind.
I learn pretty slow myself. So
All right.
Right
Cool.
on.
And I'm a slow typer.
Okay.
Okay, right on.
Thank you,
So
people. I feel better now.
yeah, man, like that's the thing you got to realize, like not everyone is going to say something, you know what I'm saying? So you might think you're the only one, but you're probably not. You're probably speaking for like a lot of people whenever you say something like that. All right, so let's talk about where this all came from, right? So this I just copied from right here. So this is app.js. Go to
Right.
app.js, copy all that,
Copied all that,
paste it here.
pasting it into car reducer,
I
naming,
changed, yeah, rename to initial state.
export, const initial state.
Yeah. I probably drank too much caffeine this morning too.
I wish I had some caffeine. I mean, all right. Something. Oh, you took off the const state equals. Sir, gotcha. And then we're exporting default. What's the const reducer? Line 18. What is that?
This is going to actually be our reducer, and and it's going to be much bigger than this by the time we're finished. This is just the beginning of it.
All right. State equals initial state.
Yeah, and this is from Python. This is how they usually do it in Python, but I think it's probably cleaner to state space equals space initial state.
Interesting. I didn't think the spaces in between them really.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure if it matters in Python. It's just like the way everyone writes. So whenever I change a language, I tend to like go with whatever seems to be the convention. So like in Python, the way they name stuff is different. Like I tend to use underscores, so it'll be like car reducer instead of camel case like this. So when I'm writing Python, I'll try to use snake case.
Okay, interesting. Do you know how like sometimes on the file where it says import like React or import use state and stuff, they always have that space in between the curly brackets and like use state.
That's just a convention. That's just a convention.
It's easier to read with the spaces.
Yeah. So usually when this usually signifies a destructuring happening. So if you have like this, you got use state. I typically see this spacing when they're destructuring an object. So that's kind of a quick visual clue that, hey, this is actually a destructured object that you're looking at.
Okay, very cool. Good to know. Yeah, I can see why it's easier to read. It's just tedious to write, I guess, right now. But
yeah, totally. But it definitely is easier to read. I agree with that. All right, so now we're inside of the reducer. What does every reducer you've ever seen, and every reducer I've ever seen for that matter, use to decide what action to take, how to update state?
Switch.
Switch, that's exactly right.
nice.
So we're going to write a switch. And inside of these parentheses, this is going to be how the switch decides what action to take, which case we're going to take. And that is going to be based on action.type.
So action.type, like, it's not like an iterator word. It's like specifically looking at towards like a certain method property or.
Yeah, okay, so action's actually an object, right? And you can actually look at this state too. This is an object as well. And there's
Mhm.
two ways to get a property from an object or an attribute from an object. You can use dot notation. So initial state dot car would give us this car object.
Mhm.
But you could also use square brackets. So like this.
Mhm.
And actually, I think you would maybe need to do this in that case. And that would give us the same result. But typically, you know, I mean, typically dot notation is easier.
Where's the action property fitting again?
This
I mean, sorry, object. Oh, the object's right there.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually don't have this yet. You know, this is our parameters, right? Like when you make a function, you don't actually know what's going to be passed in it yet, right? So we can make an add function, right? So const add equals num1, num2 equals this function, and then we're going to return num1 plus num2, right? We don't know what these are yet.
Okay, right.
This is actually incorrect. This needs to be an arrow. Okay, there we go. We don't know what these are, but we can still make the function. We won't know what these values are until the function's actually used. So add 2, 4.
Gotcha.
So we don't know what exactly this is going to be.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's add some cases. Let's look through our app to see what kind of cases we're going to need. So, I mean, here it is. It's like right out in front for us. Remove feature and buy a feature. So it's actually going to be adding a feature. So let's go ahead and implement those. And if we run across anything else we're going to need to add, we can add it then. So let's go ahead and do that.
Where did those 2 lines come from? Because they're not in my version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
probably old because they didn't come with our cloning of this project.
Oh, good. Actually did not like this because this kind of forces you to use Redux in a way that's really inefficient and like kind of like needless. Like, why would you use Redux if you're just going to have everything in app and pass it down through props?
Huh.
So, yeah, but this is my version of the project whenever I was a student. So it could be a little different. But one good thing about it is it just has right up front what you're going to need.
So would you suggest that we go ahead and write those lines in our app.js or?
Sure. Actually, go ahead, because this is going to make the useReducer portion of this project really easy.
Okay, cool.
In fact, I could go ahead and paste this.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let me get over here to the after hours channel. I'll paste it in the after hours channel. It's good. After hours channel. All right. Code snippet. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just paste that in app.js underneath state. If you guys see any other differences, let me know as we come across them. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly the same for us to get the point across here, but it would be nice to know.
Is anybody else getting the yellow lines saying it's declared but never read?
Yeah, and so you
That's
probably
okay.
you probably have like some kind of like strict IntelliSense going on. My VS Code lets me know that it's not being used because it's like kind of like darker, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, I haven't even launched this application yet. I know it's not ready to launch yet, so I haven't even bothered, you know, doing a yarn start or something like that.
Nice.
All right, so we know we're going to need to add a feature and remove a feature. So let's go ahead and start planning that. So I like to do this thing. Josh kind of mentioned this, where you set the string to a variable, so you don't have to type it a lot and it auto completes and stuff like that.
That's cool. Never seen that.
Right. And this is going to be remove feature. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to add the cases to this switch statement. We only have 2 cases we know of at the moment that are going to change state. So that's going to make our reducer pretty easy to write. But of course, first we need to add this default case. And in most applications, you're not really going to need this because you'll be able to keep track of what's going on, and you should never hit this default case. But React will really complain to you if you don't have this default case in a switch. And I mean, it's good to have it there as a failsafe anyway.
Does it matter if the default is first before your cases?
Oh yeah, it'll matter because then it'll hit that before your cases, and you'll always get state. At least I think so. I've never tried that. We can try that later if you remind me.
Okay.
But I think it would hit the default first and then just always return that state.
Because I didn't know if it went by name first or case name before it went just by.
It'll go
order.
it'll go top to bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know in Java, default always goes last.
All right. Yeah, we can check that. JavaScript was meant to mimic Java because Java was the hotness at the time. So it'll probably do the same thing with Java, but we can check.
So, Vincent, quick question. Those on line 1 and 2, those are just like placeholder words. If you wanted to make a generic boilerplate, you could just put do something equals do something.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
You would, yeah, okay. So they're not tied to anything yet, right?
Not yet, but I mean, they're about to be tied to
Right,
this. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point. Like, if you guys wanted to make like a Redux boilerplate, I think that's a fantastic idea. Because, I mean, it takes a little bit of time to like type out, like, you know, you're going to have your initial state. In Redux, you're not going to usually have these here. These, for me at least, I usually make these live in actions whenever you start using Redux. But you could make them live here and just import them into actions if you want. It's all up to you. All right, so I've added 1 case here, guys. And we need to add the second case, which is going to be remove feature. And for now, we're just going to return state. All right. So we have a decision to make here. So we can go ahead and start adding this state update logic now, or we could like start building up other stuff. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know VS Code did that. When I hover over state, it tells me what state is. That's awesome. Or we could wait and like start like actually building the scaffolding for the reducer inside of the application. I could go either way. It just kind of depends on how much you understand what's going to be happening. What I'm kind of envisioning is the action.payload is going to be the actual feature. in both of these cases. So like you're gonna click on feature, and that's going to send a dispatch to the reducer, and the action.payload is going to be the actual feature that they clicked on. So that's going to have all this information right here. And of course, that's going to have, so okay, what's going to happen if they add a feature? Okay, so let's say they add the V6 engine. That means this has to leave additional features. That's going to be removed from additional features.
Oh, nice.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Love it. Okay, then that is going to be added to features. But also, we're going to have to update additional price. And of course, remove feature is going to be the opposite of that. Let's go ahead and build that. I think I've got a handle on it right now. So let's go ahead and build that. All right. So we only have 3 things here, and they all need to be updated. So if we wanted to, we could get away with passing in state. And if we knew for sure that this was going to be our end version of state, our state is never going to be updated, it would be a good idea not to do this, because this is kind of wasteful. Because we're passing in all this information, and then we're going to end up changing it. But the thing is, I would tend to build it to be future-proof. So if we start adding more information to this car object here, or this state object here, if we added more to it and didn't include this, we'd have to go back and change all of these. So this kind of makes it future-proof.
So adding the spread state makes it future-proof?
Yeah, in my opinion. So what that's going to do is it's going to make a shallow copy of the old version of state,
Right.
all of the items inside of this object. So it's going to make a shallow copy of additional price, car, and additional features.
Nice.
But then we're going to manually change those.
So would there ever be a time to not do the spread state?
Yeah, if you know for sure this is going to be the end version of your state.
But it's never going to do any harm to use it?
No, of course not. I mean, it may make your, it's going to make your project a little less memory efficient and speed efficient, runtime efficient. That's the effect. So like when you're getting ready to like push this to actual production, you could come in here and be like, okay, we never ended up changing our state. So maybe we'll come back here and we'll go ahead and erase this.
Nice. Very cool.
But, also another thing to keep in mind, this is a pretty small application at this point, and we're not going to have any problems with memory and runtime. So we don't really have to worry about it. Okay, so car is going to equal, so we got to change a value in car. So that means we're going to have to build a new car object, pass in state.car. So that's going to pass in all these values, make shallow copies of all these values. But we want to change the features. So features, oh my gosh, this is getting crazy, isn't it? Because we actually have to, like, what if there was already features in here, right? So we have to pass in all of those features as well. State.car.features.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this can get crazy, can it?
Well, hold on. Wouldn't you leave it just like the way you wrote it right now? Because let's say we add one feature now and then the user wants to add another feature, in 20 minutes. Wouldn't you have to have your return just like that?
Just like this?
Yeah.
So if we left it like this, what would happen is none of the features the user added would ever be added. Because this is all this is passing in is the old features.
Okay.
This is the old version of state that we're passing in here yet. We haven't even made, right? What we're doing right now is making the new state.
I got you.
That's what is happening right here. We're making the new state object, and then we're returning it. All right. So we need to add that new feature. And what we decided, and we'll have to remember this, that action.payload, and actually I might go ahead and comment that right here. Action.payload, well, it wouldn't be for in every case, so maybe we can just add it maybe here. Action.payload equals feature. And feature is an object, so I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that as well, feature object. So we can just add action.payload onto that, because action.payload equals a feature. So we'll just add the action.payload at the end of our state.car features, state.car.features. But it doesn't end there, because remember, like if we add this V6 engine to our features, we also have to remove it from additional features.
Right.
So does anybody have an idea of how they would tackle that?
With a filter?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I would do as well. I would filter these features. Filter, there we go. And so each one of these is going to be a feature. And so how would I filter? So filter has a test. And if
ID?
that's exactly right. That's what I'm talking about. Well done. So filter has a test. If the current item passes that test, then it gets added to the new array that's being returned. So we have the ID of the action that's being removed, or I guess being added in this case, added to car features, but being removed from here. So we just want to make sure that we don't add any feature that has the same ID into this new array that we're creating with filter, if that makes any sense. So if feature dot ID is not equal to action dot payload, I've got cables in my way. Hold on a second. All right, that's better. Payload dot ID. So if the IDs do not match, then it's going to be added to this new array that we're creating.
Oh, okay. They do not match.
Yes. Because if they
I would-
match, that means we would only return the same feature, which means like we add the V6 engine to features, and then suddenly we would only have the V6 engine in our additional features array, which is not what we want.
You need to put square brackets around your filter.
Let's go. Or do we? No, okay, no, we don't. No, we don't. Because it's going to return an array. So I think maybe what you're thinking is like, because I mean, if you did that, if we did this right here, what we would actually have is an array inside of an array. And that's not what we want. But I see where your head was at. Now, on the other hand, if we wanted to spread in, this would be making a shallow copy of a shallow copy, so it's redundant. But if we did something like this, we would have to do that. But we're already making a shallow copy with filters, so we don't have to do that. All right. So there was another thing we needed to change on here. Does anybody remember what it was?
The additional price?
That's right, the additional price. So the additional price, so right now we're adding a feature. So how do we figure out what the new additional price is?
We just add it to the current price.
Okay, what's the current, how do we get access to the current price?
spread the state car.price, state.car.price.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
I
So-
think that's handled in,
yes, it is. It's definitely handled in the actual application. So the actual application will take the price of the car and then add the additional price. So we don't actually have to do that. But we do need to get access to this. So how do I get access to this value in the current state?
With an additional price plus additional action payload that price.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're gonna need state.additional price plus action.payload.price.
Nice.
And that will update our price, right? So that should be everything we need. I mean, if you guys see me missing anything, let me know, because like I said, this is not planned. So that should be everything we need for adding a feature. While we're at it, let's go ahead and do the remove feature, which should be fairly simple. I mean, fairly similar. Let's see.
Quick question, line 29, action.payload.price. What is that referencing?
So remember, action.payload is a feature object. And this is a feature object.
Okay.
So the feature object has 3 properties or attributes. I'm not sure whichever one is the right jargon, but it has an ID,
Okay.
a name, and a price.
There we go. All right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so this is going to be really similar, but it's going to be different in some areas. Which areas? Actually, I guess they're all going to be different, at least in some, to some extent. So, but first, let's talk about this one. How is state.car.features going to be different?
Something about the payload.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
needs
we're
to be
definitely going
different.
to need to use the payload. The payload's going to be the same in the matter of that it's still going to be a feature object. The payload's still going to be a feature object. But remember, when we remove a feature, we're removing that feature from this features array inside of car, and then we're adding it back to additional features. So it's pretty much the opposite of what add is doing. So we can pretty much, I think, copy this.
Look what just happened.
What?
I don't know, I didn't see it. I'm sure it was awesome. All right. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna have our filter here instead. All right, what are we gonna be filtering?
We're going to
Let's
be filtering all of the additional features.
State.car.features. Because we're going to be removing from this, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. I was
okay, you lost me on that copy paste.
Oh, okay. Where was I? Okay, I'm right here. And you know what? This is starting to get kind of big, so big and ugly. So let's go ahead and we have an error right there. All right, state.car. All right, I think we're good. All right, so we passed in state.car just like we did up here, but we want to remove something from features in this case. So we are filtering from state.car.features. And it's pretty much the exact same way we did it before. Actually, it is exactly the same way, using the ID.
Huh.
So the only thing we had to change is right here.
just put the exclamation point and equal sign in front of everything.
I mean, I forgot what, do they call it, like a bang operator or something? I don't remember, but it's basically just a not. It's just a not, right? So it's,
Yeah.
I use it all the time, man. It's really useful. All right, so I think that's gonna have us good on car. So now with additional features, this is going to be different because we're actually adding 2 additional features instead of taking away.
What was that last part?
We are adding 2 additional features instead of taking away from it.
Oh, okay.
Because
So-
up here, see, we're taking away, removing something from additional features, but now we're going to be adding. So we can kind of look to this right here about how we did it.
let's see. Did you?
I mean, I could have missed something. So if you think I missed something, feel free to let me know.
You're missing a dot.
Oh, thank you. I recently did a technical interview, which I passed, by the way.
Nice.
But
Yay.
yay. But like I was so nervous and I was like fumble fingers like crazy. I had so many little typos and stuff. And he was just like, Liz, he's like, you're missing a dot right there. That needs to be capitalized. It was so embarrassing. This guy's like a senior, you know, software engineer, and I'm sitting there like just making stupid mistakes all over the place. Happens
This
to
is
the
part
best
of
us.
it, huh?
Yeah, you're right, man. You are totally right. All right. Okay, so we're spreading in our old additional features, our old state here. What do we need to add? You can use this for a reference, right? We passed in our old features, and then we added the feature that was in the payload. Action.payload. All right, now this is going to be different. What change do we need to make here?
Minus.
That's right. That's right. Minus. All right. So unless I'm missing something, which is possible, I think we're done with these 2 cases. Let me know if I'm missing something.
I mean, it looks pretty good. Do you mind like just walking us through it? You know, just kind of like starting at line, whatever, either 26 or 33, and just like
Mhm.
explain what. Each
Yeah, like going over the logic of the returns would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool, guys. So this is, in my opinion, probably the hardest part of Redux.
Yeah.
Thing we're doing right here, dude. And I help a lot of people out with Redux. And it almost all the problems, all the errors comes back to this one thing. So let's really get into it, man. So what we are doing is we're making a new state object. That's really important to really like wrap your head around. We're not changing state. We are making a new state object. We're making a copy of it essentially.
Right.
But if you make like a direct copy, just like Josh said, it'll only copy the reference. So that's why we need to use the spread operator, our filter, our map. All right, cool. So first thing we do, we spread in all of the old state object. So at this point right now, if we commented out all this, what we would essentially have right here is exactly this.
Right.
Except for it wouldn't be a reference to this. It would be a shallow copy of it, which is what we want. All right. But we're like, okay, cool, we've got all our old state, but we actually want to make a change to car features. So we come up here, we add the car key right here, and then we're like, okay, we're going to need to make a new car object. So we get these curly brackets, we spread in state.car. So at this point, car is equal to this.
So why would we have to spread state.car when we already spread in state?
Because right here, what we're doing right here is we're completely overriding that. As soon as we put car right here and made it equal to something else, any information we had already spread got completely overwritten.
Okay.
And since we do want to keep some of this, we have to spread it in.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
but it-
on that line 27 inside
Mhm.
there, we're just spreading state.car basically to grab it and gain
Mhm.
access to it.
Well, we want all these values.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we basically want a complete exact copy of it at
Okay.
this point, and that's what we've done right here. It's a exact copy of it.
And the reason why you have to do that is because on line 27, right before that, you initiated car.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes more sense. Thanks for
Yeah.
explaining.
So, I mean, let's, for example, say this wouldn't make any sense, but let's say we had truck here, and truck equals false, just because. If we never initialize truck over here, we never do truck this, then truck will stay the same as it was in the original object.
Mm.
So even though we haven't explicitly said anything about truck here, since we spread out state right here, truck will be its old value.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I hope that makes sense.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So we've got our old copy of our old state, our old car object. But we're like, hey, wait a minute. We actually want to change features. Features is the part of car that we want to change. So we put down our features key. And at this point, now features is no longer going to be the same. But we want all the old values to still be in there. So we make a copy of those values.
Mm-hmm.
And then we add the new value.
Interesting. So why is features an array? And why are we not using action.payload for the beginning part of line 27, like state.car.action.payload?
Oh, because action.payload, we even made a note of it here. Action.payload is only going to equal the feature object that is either being added or removed. So action.payload does not have access to any of this stuff, except for the one feature that's being added. Now, if you wanted to, you could create some kind of dispatch where the action is the entire piece of state. So you could have something like dispatch type. Oh yeah, it's action is a type. So, I mean, an object. So type is going to be like update. Update all the things. And payload is going to equal state. And whenever you call this, so let's say we've got a useReducer somewhere and it's returning to a state, right? So when we actually call this, we'll pass in the entire state. So that means action.payload would be this entire thing. And if you did that, and actually, as a matter of fact, if you wanted to, you could do something like this, or this state, and then you wouldn't even have to make a shallow copy of anything, because you're making a shallow copy of everything here. But that's starting to get out into the woods. And it's
Very
yeah. I mean, keep in mind, whenever you're doing all this stuff, guys, it's at the end of the day, we're following a certain pattern here. But at the end of the day, this is all JavaScript. It's not any magical new language. It's all JavaScript. So anything you can do in vanilla JavaScript, you can do here and all this stuff. But the thing is, we want to follow this pattern. And the reason for that is because, I mean, look at it. It's kind of complex. So people need to be able to go into this, know that it's a reducer, and have an expectation as to what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. All right. So that takes care of that. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this before it causes some kind of weird error. All right. So that gets us here, right?
Yep.
And then we go to additional features. And additional features, we want to remove one of these feature objects.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that filter also makes a shallow copy of an array. So when you filter to a new array, you're not referencing the array that you filtered. You actually have created a new array. That's what we want when we're using Redux and we're updating state. So we can use filter. And
Wait.
it's just like every filter that you've ever done. Go ahead.
So because it makes a new array, that's why you don't have to spread in state on that same line.
Yep.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, it's not the convention, but if you wanted to, here, let me comment this out. We're starting to get a little bit out into the weeds here, but maybe it's a good thing to kind of get into here. Since map makes a copy of the array, a shallow copy of the array, which is what we want, we could actually change the way we do this. car.map. And actually, this is an object, so we couldn't do that. We'd have to do state.car.items, I think, is what it is in JavaScript. State.car.items, or would it be values? I'm not sure. I don't want to like tell you guys wrong or anything, but maybe it would be values. And that would give us the value of each one of these objects. Anyway, you could iterate through this .map. The thing is that would create a okay, no, you couldn't do this. But you could do it here. You could do it here, right? State.car, wait a minute. You could do like state.car.map right here.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, I don't want to get out. I feel like we're kind of getting distracted here. But I mean, it's vanilla JavaScript, and anything you can do in any other JavaScript case, you can do here. But you want to follow the patterns. So anybody that looks at your code knows what they're looking at. So this is just a normal filter. We're filtering off the old version of state.additional features, and we're creating a new version of it by removing the action that has this ID. And additional price, all additional price is doing is adding the price of the added feature and adding it to the whatever the old version of state.additional price was. So in this case, 0. Does that make any sense, guys?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
I really hate that I kind of got off on a tangent there.
That
No,
makes sense,
it's
but
great.
you lose me on the reverse logic.
Okay, on the reverse logic. So this right here. Okay, yeah, let's go through this. I mean, I could have made a mistake. Let's figure out, right? Okay, so in this case, we're removing from this array and adding 2 additional features. All right, so we add in our previous state. We decide we're going to create a new car object. We add in the previous values of the state.car object. And we know we want to change features. So we go to features. We filter through the features array. And we only want to return the items that do not match the ID of the feature we're removing. So I think that's right. Then we come down here to additional features, and it's the same thing. We're spreading in the old array, all the additional features we previously had, and we're adding the feature that was just removed from this array.
In that filter and remove feature, why is it not triple equals and it's bang double equals?
Okay, yeah. So if we did that, if we did this triple equals, this would only return one feature object, and it would be the feature object that we are trying to remove. So let's pretend that this is right here. Our guy wanted the V6 engine, but he changed his mind. So he wants to remove it from features.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we did this instead of a bang equal equal, what we're actually going to end up with is, well, actually it would equal the exact same thing as it equals right now because we only have one thing in there. But after we filtered, it'd be exactly the same, which is not what we want. But say we had something else in there. Control C. All right, so this guy currently, he has the racing detail package and the V6 engine, but he decides he does not want the V6 engine. So he removes that feature. He wants to remove this feature. We come down here and we do the filter this way with the triple equal. What we're gonna end up with is this right here. So what he ended up getting was the one feature that he tried to remove.
Okay.
Because we're coming over here. Remember, this is a test. Anything that passes this test gets added to the new array. So if feature.id, so the ID of the current item of the array equals the ID of the feature we're trying to remove, then we're going to add it to the array. But that's not what we want to do.
Okay.
This makes it to where it's only true if it doesn't match, which is the behavior we want.
Cool
stuff. There we go. All right. How does everybody feel about this logic now? And be honest. If you can verbalize like what you're having trouble with, like it would definitely help a lot.
Honestly, I think I just need a lot more practice with JavaScript, just the vanilla stuff.
Yeah, I hear that.
I'm okay with it. I'm just having trouble keeping track of what action payload is. But I think that my brain's just not awake enough.
So
yeah, I was going to ask the same question. Is that been defined yet, or are we just referencing something
we're kind of defining it right now? I mean, like we're kind of planning it, right? We're like, okay, and it could be anything, really. We could decide it. We want it to be something else. But right now, the plan for add feature and remove feature is we're going to send the feature object as payload. That's the current plan, and that's just the plan we've made. You know, I mean, so, if you wanted to, you could be like we want to send the ID of the feature object as payload.
So if we were to console log action.payload, would that return anything?
Not right now, because right now this is just a parameter. Right?
That's
like it's not going to have any value until it's actually used. Because I mean, like that's what we're doing right here. We're defining a function.
Yeah.
And remember, the convention is that a action object has two properties, type and payload. Now, if you wanted to go like, I don't know, all cowboy and like change this, you could. Because this, as long as it's consistent in your code, it could be anything, man. It could be like super cool action thing. You could call it that if you want, as long as it's consistent.
What did you say that was again? That was the action object?
Yeah.
So what is an action object really? Like where does that go traditionally?
It's going to go into the dispatch function that we're going to return from useReducer. And we're gonna get to that here in a second.
Yeah, I figured. I was like, okay, he's gonna explain that later.
Yeah. The only reason we do it this way with the specific type and action is like what I said before, where like this is kind of a complex thing we're doing here, and we want it to be easy to read and people to come into it and know exactly what to expect. If you have a Redux project, I want to be able to go straight into it, know exactly what's going on, exactly how to use it, without like looking for funny variable names, you know.
Well, wouldn't it be easier to read if you refactored payload into object?
Into object.
That way you know you're passing an object in.
But what object are you talking
The
about?
payload. For payload.
Uh-huh.
Because you're passing in the additional features object.
Yeah,
aren't
yeah.
you?
Yeah, so this would equal, for example, it would equal this.
Right. So instead of using payload, you could use object.
Like this.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is like, it's not always going to be an object, right? So let's say,
But in this,
yeah, but
in
that,
this code
yeah,
it is.
exactly. You could totally do that. But remember, we want people to come in knowing that we're working on Redux and know exactly what to expect. But you could, I mean, if you decided like, hey, I'm a rebel, I want to, this from now on in all my stuff, it's going to be exactly what it is, you know? But the thing is, you just have to be consistent with all this throughout your entire project.
Right.
And anybody who comes in is not going to be expecting this because you're not following the reducer pattern.
Is this where the best practices mindset comes into play?
Yeah, exactly.
For
And
the other developers, don't call it random, crazy stuff. Just call it type, just call it payload. Yeah.
And it's just so important for something like this, because I mean, at the end of a project, one reducer is going to be like hundreds of lines long potentially, and you're going to have multiple reducers. So it makes it really easy for it to be consistent. It makes it really a lot easier to read if it's consistent.
So just to verify, payload basically references whatever objects we have in the state.
It references whatever you pass in whenever you do the dispatch, right? So dispatch, whenever you call this dispatch function, oh wow, that's not what I meant. Dispatch event, interesting. Whenever you dispatch an event, there's a convention. You're going to pass in as an argument a object that has two values, type and payload. And this payload can be anything, whatever you need to make this change in state happen. So in some cases, it may be just the ID. I mean, it could be a user ID, user email, I mean, it's whatever you need to make that change in state happen. It's going to depend on your specific use case.
Can you add more than one thing in the payload?
The payload could be anything you want it to be. So if you wanted to make it an array with a million different things, sure, that's fine. You can make it an object. I mean, it can be anything. This is JavaScript, man. It can be whatever you want it to be.
All right.
Whatever your application needs to make it happen.
Right. I'm just still trying to understand what it is and how it works. But, all right.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what's happening is like, it's kind of, when you're thinking of it in your head, you're thinking of it more complex than what it really is. All it is.
That's what it is.
All it is an object, you know what I'm saying? A defined object. We've all agreed, all us Redux users, we've all agreed that this object is going to look like this. That's all it is. Object that we say, okay, it's going to look like this, guys. Wait a minute, that's wrong. Type. There we go.
So the type is, let's say, just add feature. and
Yeah.
that's the case, that's the type. And
Yeah.
then everything that's in the logic of the return statement of add feature, such as the action.payload, the price of payload, is being updated in that additional price thing on line 34. And then
So the payload is not being updated anywhere.
okay.
The payload is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're using to update state.
Yes, yeah, the payload isn't even a state object necessarily. It's just the means to an end.
Yeah, it's just some
to
piece of data
update.
that we're sending in order to help us create this new version of state.
Yeah, it's just the catalyst to get the change to occur.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
What would you put on line 23 if you were referencing add feature?
We would put some kind of object here that equals, so let's say our ID is 10. Let's see, it has a name, right? Name, gosh, what is a good update, a good feature for a car, guys? Mustang specifically. NOS.
Yeah, NOS would be a good feature.
Don't want to blow it up.
Yeah, I know Brittany would know. She is a Mustang guru, guys. And like 500. I think that would be good. Wow, I'm getting some kind of error though. ID. I wonder where this error is coming from. Oh, maybe. I mean, anyway, it doesn't really matter where the error is coming from, particularly. We're just trying to make a point here. So if you wanted to add a feature, let's say we were adding a feature to some piece of data where we have like, maybe we had I had a new thing up here, like it was like case add base feature, and this would be what it would look like. This is what a payload would look like. It would look like a feature object. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? I mean, these have been good questions. I hope I'm being at least somewhat helpful with this stuff.
Oh yeah, you're being great.
Helpful. Thank you.
I appreciate
You're
it.
always very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys whether you guys are ready to move on or not.
I think I personally am.
I'm good.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool. So this part, what we're about to do is the part that is always difficult for me whenever I'm using this regular reducer pattern, because I never use reducer by itself. I'm always using either Redux or just normal state. So this part is a little more difficult for me, but I will try my best to do it. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this here, like I said earlier, just for reference. So there's some things we're gonna need to import to make this work. Does anybody know offhand what they are?
A
You'll
reducer?
need initial state from.
Yes, we are. We are gonna need that. That's right. useReducer, somebody said it as well. Okay, you guys are going a little fast for me, actually. So let's see. And I think our reducer is a default export, so we can do it like this. From, and I think that's going to be, nope, it's going to be in the same folder. And it's going to be reducers and car reducer. Okay, there's our car reducer. But I think we're also going to need, because we're doing regular useReducer, we actually need to import add feature as well, because we're going to need access to these strings.
So
Oh yeah, and Liz said initial state as well. That's right.
why are we adding those add feature, remove feature?
This is just a style choice. Like I said, I like to use these so I don't have to do these strings. For one, it allows me to autocomplete, and
Okay.
for two, it makes me a little more confident that I'm not going to be misspelling these.
Okay, I see. Interesting.
I think that's all we're going to need for that.
So like, if your switch case was like 20 things long, like you have to add all of them in there.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Hopefully in one component, you would not need all 27 of them. If you did, then you might want to like rethink how you're like designing your application. Believe me, I have
spread that out a little bit.
Exactly. And believe me, I have been that guy. Trust me. I know it happens. You're like,
saw
how the
video-
hell did this get so big? What were you saying, Brittany?
I saw a video yesterday where a guy made an actions folder and he put a types inside of it and he imported start or everything as actions from that file. And then when he was going down further, when he needed to use something, it was like actions dot, and then it would, whatever he needed to instead of importing them individually.
Yeah, remember this is JavaScript. So if you wanted to do that, you can do that. And you can do that like you do that here as well. So you're these are all the exports from React. So I have my React stuff. Right? And so we're gonna make our reducer here, const equals my React stuff dot use reducer. It's vanilla JavaScript, so anything you can do in regular JavaScript, you can do here. But we're not going to do that because that's crazy. The way he did it, Brittany, actually seems smart. It's all about your style, right? I mean, like the way I do things are going to be different from the way you guys do things. You know what I'm saying? Whatever works for your workflow, man, just do it. As long as it's easy to read, that's important. All right, so let's do our useReducer here. So first things first, useReducer takes 2 arguments. Does anybody remember what they are?
Initial state.
Reduce and initial state.
Or the reducer and initial state, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Car reducer and initial state. Awesome. I think we might, since we set a default, we could maybe do this. We can test that later if you want. Okay, so useReducer returns 2 things. What does it return? It returns them in an array, and we're going to destructure them here. So what does it return?
State and dispatch.
That's right. It returns the state and the dispatch function. Now keep in mind, we're destructuring here. So these are actually variable names, and we could name these anything. So like my cool data, like how I update data, these are just variable names, so they could be anything. Of course, we want to keep with convention, so we're going to name them correctly. But I just wanted to make sure you realize that this is exporting an array with 1, the value of state, and 2, a function that is used to update state.
From now on, I'm naming all my variables after Greek gods.
Nice. Zeus. So this would be like what? Zeus, and this could be like maybe Athena.
Yeah, that works.
That's kind of cool. That'd be like a really cool like Easter egg for your code. Like somebody at first they'd be like, "What the hell's going on?" And they'd be like, I see what's going on. This is kind of cool."
Have you guys played God of War?
I have not played it. I've heard good things though.
Yeah, it's so good. I was just gonna say Kratos and boy would be if you've heard the meme.
I have no life, man.
That's all right.
All right, cool. So, and remember, this is JavaScript, guys, so we could do anything. Let's say, for example, that we only need access to the car. We could do something like this. You get only the car out of the state object. Remember, this is what state looks like.
So
We could destructure it and only get car. We're not going to do that, but we could, and I just want to make sure you guys realize that.
So in that array bracket, everything in there is what we destructured from the useReducer, or?
Yeah. So useReducer is a function. It's a function that we're calling, and it returns an array with two things inside of it. The current state, the current value of state, and a function that's used to update state.
Which is called dispatch.
Yeah.
And so in the part where it says useReducer and your arguments are car reducer, which references the file that we import, and then
Well,
initial
it represents this function specifically.
Oh, okay.
And then we also passed an initial state, which
References
this
that
specific.
state. Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Still trying to understand what's in the array. Like,
And right here,
yeah, state and dispatch.
yeah,
State is basically initial state.
it's not initial state. This is a variable that represents the current value of state.
Okay.
So at first, it's going to be initial state. But once we start, playing with our application, state's going to change, and this variable will still represent the current value of state.
Okay.
And
Okay, so this on line 10, this state and reducer, this is above everything. So if would you be able to call it like deep down in component level, or does it have to be at a top level?
Well, that's the thing, right? This is one of the things I don't like about useReducer, because it's like almost like, why even use it? It's not that much valuable than use state. If every time you use this, you're going to create a new instance of your reducer. So it's pretty much the best way to use it would be use it at the top level of all of the components that need it.
Right.
So like we have a ton of components in app that are all going to need this state. So it doesn't make any sense to put it, like, for example, in header, because header added features isn't going to be able to get access to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So you just need to put it at the top level of all the components that are going to need it. That makes sense, Rob?
Yeah, well, I think it will when we pass, because you're still going to use props, right?
Not for well, yeah, for props. Yeah, like
down there.
we're gonna have to pass. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're gonna have to pass stuff down to props. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's see. All right. So I think, am I missing anything, or can we start like actually? I think we're good. I think we can start like figuring out what everything is going to look like. This is actually going to look the same. This is going to look the same. All going to look the same, I think, because car is going to come from state. Additional features are going to come from state. Okay, yeah, so we don't need to make any changes here. I guess what we need to do next is actually make these functions.
Quick question.
Sure.
I thought from the reducer project from the beginning of last week, anything that said state dot or whatever, we end up having to just leave it like the name of whatever prop was in there, like car, or instead of state dot car.
If you wanted to do that, you would have to destructure it, and you could do.
I don't want to do that. I was just wondering, like.
Yeah. The thing is, you got to keep in mind, man. Like, if you wanted to do something like just have car here, you got to say to yourself, like when you do something like this, you got to say to yourself, okay, where is car coming from? You know, and so you would look inside of this function, because this only has access to what's inside of these curly brackets and above. So, okay, so we look inside these curly brackets. Do we see car anywhere?
No.
We don't see a car variable. We don't see a car variable outside in the next. So that means that has no value, you know, so this would be undefined and it would probably throw an error. So when you just got to keep in mind, like, where is this coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
and we know where state's coming from. We have it right here, and we know what it looks like. It's going to look like this. And we know state has a property or attribute, whatever the word is, called car.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, of course, man. All right, so let's go ahead and start writing these functions. All right, dispatch. So we want to dispatch, so we know we need to use this dispatch function. What are we going to pass into the dispatch function as an argument?
Type, I think. And,
Yeah,
and then the dispatch keyword, like the stuff that's in all caps.
Yeah. But what's it going to be inside?
An
You're
object?
exactly
Oh,
right.
yeah,
He was on the right. He was on the right. He was there. He just forgot to say object.
You got to throw in curly boys.
Yeah, curly boys. I had a friend who called them crunchy boys.
Crunchy boys.
Yeah.
Curly fries.
Dude, I don't know about crunchy boys.
I know, dude, but it made me like laugh so hard. Oh, this is a feature. So it stuck with me, dude. I was like, dude, that is too funny. All right, and remember what payload we wanted to take? The actual feature object, right? Which I'm guessing is this item. And there's our dispatch.
So why is it just referencing item?
Because that's just whatever how this was built, right?
Okay.
And we could change this actually. Screw it, let's change it. I don't like it. Sure. It's our code. We can change it if we want to.
Let's go.
Let's go. I feel empowered. Okay. Awesome. We're gonna change this to feature as well, just so it's more clear what's going on. Because it's not an item, it's a feature. It could be an item depending on what the feature is. Okay, so that's that. Now we need to remove, we need to add. So that's also going to be object type add, right? And payload's going to be the same, a feature. Sweet. But now we need to pass this down, right? Because these need access to this. And this is why I just don't get it, you know, useReducer versus, like, why would you even use a useReducer without Redux? But I guess if your state is like really complex for this particular component, I guess it can make sense. But
so for line 30 and 35, feature references the variable that we're using for this variable.
For this function, right?
For this function.
So these are both functions, and we're kind of like writing a contract here. Like, okay, we're gonna write this function, and we're gonna say, hey, what we're gonna pass in is going to be the feature object. We're making a deal with ourselves that that's how we're gonna use this.
Okay. I'm trying to like connect the dots to where this connects back to.
Sure. Well, let's talk about it, dude. Let's get stuck in, man. Okay, let's say we call by item here. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to call it here, but let's say we did, and gosh dang it. And let's create a feature, I guess. What was our feature before? ID is going to equal like 35. Sure, why not? Name equal to NOS, and price is going to be $1 million. No, I'm just playing. How much does NOS go for? Do you know?
Like cheap is like 2,700.
2,700. Damn, so that's like fully installed and everything. All right. Okay, so here we go. We've got our feature right here, and we're buying this feature. Okay, so we're calling this function. We passed in this object. So we come up here to where our function is declared. Okay, it's expecting an object called feature. Now we're dispatching with the add feature type and this feature as the payload. Everybody good so far?
Wait, say that again?
We're dispatching with add feature as the type and this feature that we passed in as the payload, which
Okay.
is this right here. All right. So now what's happening is that's being sent to the reducer. So here we are, right here. We have an action and we have a state. Now the state is automatically getting added in. We don't see that. That's being abstracted away from us inside of dispatch.
Okay.
Somewhere, wherever dispatch is being created inside of React, it's automatically passing in the old version of state. We don't get to see that. But we do get to see what our action is, all right? So our action type is add feature. Come down here, we see add feature, and we go look at our payload, which is this right here. And using that payload, we update state right here. Once that's all done, all the stuff done right here, we return this. That gets updated to this variable right here. And that triggers a re-render of all of these components that were dependent on state with the new information. Does that make sense?
It's starting to make more sense. It's a lot of back and forth. I think that's why I've been struggling so much with React and Redux. It's not like a nice circle or like a cascading type of thing. It's like this weird L-shaped back and forth.
Yeah, it really is. I like that you said like a circle, because that's kind of what's happening, right? You're dispatching to state, state's getting updated, and that's getting pushed back right here. And React has an algorithm that checks the new version of state and the old version of state, and if something's changed, it re-renders anything that was dependent on those changes. We don't get to see that. That's hidden from us.
Right.
Okay, cool. So let's go to the next point, which is actually going to be passing these down. So I think it's going to be added features and additional features that are actually going to need this stuff. But let's check. Look at additional features first. Okay. And then I guess this goes down to an additional feature component. Boom, there's our button right here for adding a feature. So this is where we need to pass that stuff down to. Gotcha.
We gotta pass the add feature function all the way down to that component.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? You guys, I mean, once you guys see
Reducer's
how,
great.
once you see it with with the hooks, you guys are gonna love it, man. It's like so much better. It's crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and pass all this down. By item equals by item. And we're gonna do these one at a time. Initial features, that's props. So we're gonna do by item equals props dot by item. Okay, and that gives us access to
Wait, go back. You went too fast.
Oh, sorry about that. So we're adding the by item prop to the additional feature component.
I don't think I have an additional feature. Ah, there it is.
Oh, okay, you're starting to scare me. I was like, how different are these projects? Because I got the old one, you know what I'm saying? So.
Well, I also have to be sure I'm in the right file with or without the S on the end.
Oh yeah, totally.
Do you normally not start your project until you've written all
Oh
the
yeah,
code?
yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, unless I'm updating something visually or if I need to make sure something's working, I don't start it.
Oh. But then how do you get your error log? Like,
Oh, but I mean, I haven't written my code yet, so I mean, I don't know.
So
It's just a matter of like style, right? Like
mm,
I write everything that I can without starting the project before I start the project, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like we don't have all the functionality needed for this project yet, so I haven't started it.
right.
And like there's been a lot of projects I've worked on where I didn't start until I actually started designing visual features, or until I wanted to test the functional features that I had added. So like we haven't even added these functional features yet, so we can't even test them. So there's really no point in starting the project.
yeah, but is it not easier to see or to debug if your live
Oh,
server
it could be.
page crashes?
It's all about how you work, man. I mean, if you like, you could be a really visual person and you need to actually see the application in the process of working.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? That could be how you work, and that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with doing it. It's your workflow, man. But for me, I can, as long as there's nothing weird going on that I don't understand, I can kind of guess what's happening just by looking at it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I feel like we're not at your level yet.
I think the key word was understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, understand. But
Well-
good question. Additional features file on mine. It doesn't look like yours. All I have is a button.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you looking at just the one without the S?
Oh yeah, it could be like.
He's
Look
probably
like
looking
this?
at, yeah, it's just that button down there,
Oh,
the one without
shoot.
the S. Yeah,
Look at that. Never mind. Thank you, Kyle.
no problem.
And you know, guys, keep in mind, like, gosh dang, get out of here. That Zoom thing that pops down.
Oh yeah.
You guys understand everything that's going on here. There's nothing here that is above your level here. It's just that you're just not comfortable with it yet, so you can't just read through it quickly or something like that. But if you were to go through this and like really look at the individual elements, you would get everything that's going on. You know, and it's just
Yeah.
that, and you got to keep in mind, I'm finished. I've graduated, so I'm you guys, you know, in a few months.
Going through this with you, I've definitely realized that it would be easier to learn all of this new stuff if I just had a better understanding of JavaScript kind of in general. You know, that would help me a bunch. So I'm gonna try
I
with this
totally
vanilla.
get that.
Kyle, I when I went on a hiatus because of the COVID stuff, I tried to do a JavaScript course with Code Academy, and it helped, but I'm still struggling because it's a logic that
Well, yeah.
I can't relate to.
One thing that helped me, well, two things, right? One thing that helped me is early on, as soon as I started learning JavaScript, I started messing around with Code Wars, and I just did vanilla JavaScript stuff. And every time after you complete one of those kata, they call them, look at everyone else's answers and like really like strain yourself to understand how and why they did the thing that they did. And that'll allow you to learn a lot of different syntax and stuff. The second thing I did is I tried to troubleshoot and debug other people's code. So like whenever someone posted in the help channel, I tried to be the first person there to look at their code and be like, okay, this is what's wrong. You know, I tried to be fast and I tried to be the first guy. So like, and even if you're not sure and you don't want to like post what you think the problem is, try to troubleshoot it yourself. Try to looking at their code, try to understand, okay, what's happening, what do they want, and you know, try to figure out the problem that way. That will really help. Troubleshooting and debugging is a great way to learn the language, and React for that matter.
What was the name of that first thing you mentioned? Code Wars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I troubleshoot and debug my own code all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, like, And that's great, you know what I'm saying? But like troubleshooting and debugging other people's code is so much more difficult, you know, because you don't understand what they're
Yeah.
doing right off
Learning
the
how to
jump.
read their code.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that helps this. Like we can, you know, once you do that, well, you'll be able to look at something like this and be like, okay, I know exactly what's happening, you know. And you'll also be able to anticipate what it's going to be like, you know. So like before I look at additional feature, I have an idea of like, okay, this is about what it's going to look like, and this is what they're going to be doing. And that's all from just hours and hours of practice, looking at other people's code, of course, doing Lambda's homework and stuff like that. You know, Lambda's a great, what they're doing here is really great. And if you just trust in the process, always do your homework, you know, do the training kit. Dude, I did the training kit stuff like for 2 or 3 hours before class most days. So ideally, you would want to know everything covered in the training kit fairly well before you get into guided lecture. And I say that because then once you get into guided lecture, what's actually happening is a review, a reinforcement of the ideas that you've already learned inside of the training kit. And I realize you guys are part-time, so you guys got it harder than I do in the fact that you guys probably got jobs, you know, you guys got other responsibilities. Man, I did not have a job for most of the time I was a student. So this was my focus. So I had the time to put in those extra hours. If you don't, you know what I'm saying, that sucks. You know what I'm saying? So you can only do what you can do. But it's all about work, man. It sucks. But it's a grind. And believe me, I'm grinding right now, man. The grind never ends. That's the career we've chosen. Right
Yeah,
on.
if you get a chance, you know, I know part-time's great, but ask if they can do like a quarter time or something.
Yeah. Nice.
Is that what like the
Part-time takes-
0.75 is?
Part-time is long enough.
Yeah. It's pretty.
I mean,
Part-time's a grind, believe me.
One
When
thing
you're-
that helps is when you watch the videos in training kit is speed them up.
Oh yeah, totally.
I set them to like at least 1.5 times.
Yeah, but stop them if you don't understand a concept
Yeah.
until you do understand it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're passing down this by item prop.
Yep. On click. So we know we're gonna have an on click here. So I think we could probably get away without making a another, you know, function. So we could do something like this. And it's going to be props, right? Props.by item. And what are we going to be passing in here, guys?
Feature.
Yeah.
Feature.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That was the magic word. And you know how she knew that? She knew that because she was looking at it. She's like, okay, where's feature coming from in the rest of the component? And she sees right here, okay, well, they're getting named from props.feature. So immediately she knows that props is not being destructured. So she knows she needs the props. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there we go. That's that. And that's that functionality. So now at this point, if you wanted to test, you wanted to launch and test this functionality, this would be a good time. But since the remove functionality is so similar, I'm going to go ahead and add both of them before I even do that. All right. So remove feature. Okay. And remove feature is going to need to be in maybe added features, I assume.
quick question.
Sure. What's up?
I still struggle with props and understanding where they go and come from.
Sure. That's a great question. I mean, if you're struggling with that, let's get into that right now, man. All right, cool. So this is a component right here.
Yep.
Every time you type something into here, it's a prop.
Okay.
My prop. But you need to tell it what the property's value is.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, this is my hella cool prop.
Sweet.
This is my property.
Mhm.
All right, so now when we go to added features, we're going to have access to anything that was added to the props in the previous. So we're going to have props.myprop,
Mm.
props.car.
Mm.
So what is props, right? Props is an object that contains all of the properties added inside of this component.
Okay.
So you can think of it like this: my prop, and it's going to equal my hello cool prop,
Right.
and my car is going to equal state.car. That's all props is. It's an object that has these properties that we added right here.
Okay.
So when we go down to additional features, get out of the way, our added features, I guess it is, we could have access to all of those properties. So we already know what props equals. Props has my prop in it, and it also has, gosh, what was it? What was the other thing we added? Oh, it was car. And we have props.car. I mean, that's all it is, man. You're just adding, or you're just adding an object that's being passed down to the next component.
Okay.
Anything you add on here gets added to this props object, and you have access to it inside of this props.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. I honestly keep forgetting things that I learned here because it's so much so fast.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and this is one reason I love the backend unit at Lambda, because the way the backend unit is structured is you're building a server every day, guys, and every time you're continuing to use the stuff that you learned from the previous day. So on your last day of backend, you're going to be using the stuff you learned on the first day of backend.
Nice.
It's just you keep getting a more and more complicated server. And I love that. But the thing is, front end is so much more complicated, I think, than back end. And it's just hard to include every single thing you can do in front end on every project. It's just going to get crazy.
Right.
But I mean, we are using props here. So in a way, we are kind of getting more practice to it, practice with it. All right.
So just to like reinforce that, if you were to put a p tag in and inside it in curly brackets, write props.myprop, then when it rendered, it would render that sentence. This is my hello cool prop. Is that right?
Say that again.
So back on that last
Added.
component,
Yeah, added features.
if you were to hypothetically put in a p tag there and put in curly brackets props.myprop, then when it rendered,
Yeah.
it would render that sentence.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Okay, cool.
Very cool. Thanks for clarifying that.
Going back to that, about front end being a lot, what I've started doing is going back to my old projects and just like last night I was still confused about the Redux thing, so I took like about 4 hours and just redid all of it to encompass new stuff that we've learned, so that way I'm still looking at old stuff and putting new stuff in it.
Huh.
Nice. That is above and beyond. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
Okay. So on app.js for the added feature, we're supposed to add the property of the remove feature function.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I was picking with my kid.
It's all good. It's all good. It was kind of cute. So we want to pass this remove feature function down to added feature. So here we are, we've added the added features component. So we're going to go to added features, and we want to pass it down to each one of the added feature components. So that'll be remove feature, I think is what it was called, equals props dot remove feature. Now keep in mind, this can be changed to anything. Remove banana. And then if we did this and added feature, we would not have remove feature. We would have props dot remove banana. But remove banana would equal remove feature, so we'd have the same functionality. We would just have a different variable name. Just so that's clear.
So remove banana, that's just a variable name for props.
Yeah, so we're creating a new props object here. So we can decide if we want a different name for our property.
Okay. Features.
All right, but
I'm good with removing bananas.
Oh my gosh. No.
I actually really like bananas. It's one of
I'm
my favorites.
allergic.
Oh, well that pretty much solves that. But just for the sake of clarity and making your code easy to read, it's good to keep them the same name. But just so you know how JavaScript's working, it's good to know that. All right, so now we're on added feature. We need to add an on click. All right, and
God, I hate that there's added feature and additional feature. I keep getting them confused.
yes, I know, right? Props that remove feature. And just like Liz said, we need to add props that feature right here. All right, so let's get some clarification. Does anybody know why I need this arrow function right now? Why can't I not just put props.remove feature?
Because you're making a new object. No.
Not exactly.
You
You need a function to run because it is an event, and you need to pass the event in, right?
That could be the case in some cases, right? But actually, actually, no, you wouldn't need that. Let's just explore that real quick. So if you had, for example, like click handler right here, the event would actually be passed in implicitly to this function, which is really nice. It's a really nice feature to have. But the thing is what's going to happen if we just have this here, right here, and we need this because we need to specify what we're passing into this object. Does anybody know what would happen if we just put this right here, like this?
In the past, when I've had stuff where you just put it straight in, it just clicks it itself every time the page renders. I don't know why it does that.
That's exactly what's going to happen. So every time the page renders, you're going to send this function is going to run.
You would send it where?
You wouldn't send it anywhere, but every time this component renders, this function is going to run.
So
it doesn't make sense to me, because aren't you saying only run when clicked?
Yeah, I get it, man. That's exactly what I would think too. But that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
So is the
default
default of onClick to do that?
Oh, maybe.
To simulate the click if you don't have that? I don't know.
If that's the case, that would make more sense. But yeah, like you need this arrow, you need this anonymous function to make sure that this function doesn't run on every render.
Okay.
And that's just, I'm not really entirely sure why that happens, but it's just a thing you need to remember.
Is that a JavaScript thing or a React thing?
Well, actually, this is probably specific to React. Yeah.
It's like the prevent default of onclicks.
Interesting. All right, cool. So now I think we should be fully functional using useReducer. So we can see if we have any errors. We may have errors all over the place. Who knows? And I'm using yarn, so I'm doing yarn start. Okay, we have some errors. Too many re-renders. Okay, that means we have an infinite loop. We have an infinite loop somewhere. Let's look through our code and see if we can find out where our infinite loop is. Okay. It's crazy that it doesn't throw an error until we, it doesn't throw an error in our console. It just throws an error after we actually render, I guess that makes sense.
I
Okay.
didn't get that error. when I
Okay,
ran
so it's probably a
by.
mistake that I've made somewhere myself. Okay, let's look here. Yeah, buy item going into buy item, remove feature going into remove feature, which is what we.
Maybe because you have 2 buy items.
Above the return.
Could be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Good eye. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Somebody's been practicing their debugging skills. Let's go. All right. Let's see. Okay, that's working so far. Rear spoiler. Good. Remove the V6 engine. Awesome. So we're working.
Okay, mine is having trouble with the total amount.
Oh, I didn't check that actually. Okay, it looks like mine's working. Okay, yeah, mine's working. So total amount. We can look exactly, where's that? That's issue is going to be here in one of these. So it should be additional price, colon, state.additional price plus action.payload.price.
Oh, I see it.
All right, cool.
Nice. I have a problem where when I try to add a feature, it just crashes, and
What's it saying to you?
it's saying type error props.buy item is not a function.
Oh, okay. Does it tell you which component that error is in?
Additional features.
Additional features. So that could be right here. Do you not have this inside of app.js additional features?
Let's see. Oh, inside the app.js. Let's see.
It could also be a misspelling.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I did not have that. I didn't
Alright.
see that. So buy item. What's buy item reference? Oh yeah, sorry, the function right there.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Cool.
All right. Everybody good?
Gucci fam.
That's what I'm talking about.
If everybody else is good, for some reason when I try to remove the function, it crashes.
What does it say?
It says props.remove feature is not a function, added feature.
Oh, it's an added feature. So when you go to added features.js, did you do this part?
Remove features equals props.remove feature. Yeah, I do have that.
Okay, so then let's look at app.js. Do you have it here?
Remove feature equals remove feature. Yeah, I do have that.
Okay, added feature.js. Do you
Wait.
have this click right here?
Feature, added feature.
I mean, and if you do, then that means we have a spelling mistake somewhere.
Right. Oh, crap. That's feature.
Hey, dude, why don't you share your screen? And what I want is I want you guys to troubleshoot his code.
Okay.
All right. All right. So is it is it Zaver or Zaver?
Yeah.
Zavar?
Yep.
Oh, dude, that's fucking awesome. Awesome. Okay, Zavar. Awesome. Let's see your code. Okay, let's start in app.js.
Can you see this?
Yeah, you're good. Show us
There's not
app.
a green outline, so I wasn't sure.
Show app.js. All right.
Which one are we working on?
It's remove feature that I think he's
Remove
getting
feature.
an error on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Oh, yep. Yep. Go ahead and show that screen again, and you guys, if you guys see it, let them know what the problem is. Oh no, wait a minute, I was wrong. Hold on a second. Let me. Okay, no, I was wrong.
Maybe go one up to added features.
Yes.
Added features.
Yeah.
So you're saying go to added features?
Yeah, added features with an S.
There's a spelling error
Let's go.
in the props. Take out the S at the end of on the props.
On line 12. There
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
go.
That should do it.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Got him.
Got him.
Nice.
Let's go. All right. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Well done.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff you guys should like practice doing, like troubleshooting each other's code.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So now we have our useReducer version. Now we're going to get into Redux. And we're going to use Redux in the way that we were taught by Josh. And Josh even mentioned that this is kind of the hard way to use Redux and not the way that he uses it. And I'm not sure why Lambda does it this way. Maybe because they want to kind of make it easier to understand what's going on. Maybe, I'm not sure. But that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so the main thing, actually, get over here. Yeah. Go ahead and, oh, wait a minute, I'm in Redux. No. Gosh damn it. Git add. I forgot to change back to my Git reducer. Added added reducer version project. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And I don't think I ever added this to git push you. No, that's not what I wanted. Web part-time 18 Redux. Gosh, that really sucks. Because I wanted there to be different versions of this for everything we're doing. So I'm actually going to have to check out the fun with reducers. Reducers. Git push origin. Fun with reducers. Awesome. Okay. Now I'm going to get onto new Redux Lambda. This is where I wanted to push it right here. Just go ahead and make a new one. Git checkout.
I mean, this is not stuff we have to do, right?
No. This is, I wanted you guys to be able to go to my version of this project and look at how I did this stuff.
All right.
So lambda
Make sure.
Redux. Git push u origin. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so you guys should be able to, I'll post my repo and you guys should be able to look at fun with reducers if you want to see the code. But I'm sure like most of you guys have been following along, so you won't need it.
So are you about to refactor this into Redux?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. All right, so there's a few major differences. For one, with Redux, we usually use actions. So we're going to have to add actions. But also, we're going to use the connect function as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and make a actions source actions directory, and then I'm going to make a actions file, actions, car actions. Yes. Okay. I think we'll start there. We'll start with the actions. Right. And this.
Can you give me a minute to catch up?
Oh yeah, sure. Do you need to see anything on my end?
Not at the
No?
moment.
Okay, cool.
I just need to organize my folder.
Did you rename the action.js to caractions.js?
I made an actions folder, and then I made a car actions file inside of actions, the actions folder.
I was just wondering because I had an actions folder already with an action file.js. So I was just wondering.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you've already made this part of your project, I guess.
I didn't do it, but it was here.
Oh, interesting. So
Yeah,
that's maybe a difference.
It has this I don't know if anybody else has it. It's got like an exported add part, delete part, and new total functions in it.
No, I didn't have an actions folder when I cloned this.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I didn't have it either.
So maybe Zavar has like an older version of the project, and I have an even older version of the project.
That would make sense, I guess, because I have Flex. So.
Yeah. Are you good, Liz?
I am.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
So you're welcome. So the only thing actions are is just functions that we use to dispatch actions. So we're really kind of abstracting out our two functions from app.js, these two. We might actually go ahead and just copy these. So I'm going to app.js and I'm copying this remove feature and by item functions.
Very cool.
All right. And I gotta get the right spacing. All right, this is not right either. All right, there we go. But we're gonna need to have access to these functions outside of this, so we wanna export them.
Did you delete them out of the app file?
No, I did not, but I'm going to go ahead and comment them out. I actually forgot to do that. So thank you for mentioning it. All right, so we have our car actions. It's maybe worth mentioning that I usually do this stuff inside of the actions folder. But since we've already put them inside of the reducer, I'm going to just go ahead and import them. Because there's no reason to like rewrite code. Import, add feature. Reducers, car reducer. All right. There we go. All right, and I think that's all we need to do for our actions. Okay, but this is kind of like the pain when it comes to Redux. It's like there's like a lot of setup, right? So we need to get this create store function. Create store. Where is that from? Is that from React Redux?
From Redux.
It's just from Redux? Okay, awesome, thank you. And
Is it
I
import or oh.
yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Okay, import create store. We also need create store.
Provider?
Say that again.
Provider?
Provider,
React.
and that's React at Redux, right?
Yep.
For
Yes.
provider. React. Right. And I think we can at least get started with that stuff. So let's go ahead and create our store here. Is equal create store. And we're only going to have one reducer, so we don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. Oh, and I guess we're going to need our reducer, aren't we?
Yeah, we had to import that. So.
Import car reducer. Reducers, car reducer. All right. Awesome. All right, what's the next step, guys?
Wrap it in that provider.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Provider. Go ahead and get app inside of it. All right, now what?
Add store to that provider.
That's right. Add store to the provider. And just like anything, just keep in mind this is Redux. I mean, this is JavaScript, so this could be anything. This could be banana. Then you could change this to banana, but this does need to be store because this provider function is expecting store, a prop called store. But this could be anything.
Huh.
But
Okay.
usually you want to say store. That way it's easy to, read. All right, cool. So that gives us that. Now, we have our reducer. We're not going, we have access to our reducer through Redux. So we don't need this any longer. How do we connect? Oh, I actually kind of gave it away, didn't I?
Import connect.
Yeah. Connect. But that's cool that it's named like that, right? Like we can kind of guess what we need. And is it React Redux, guys?
That's a good question.
Well, here we can do.
Yeah,
this.
it's Redux. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So if you're not sure, you can always just like do what I just did and just like type what you think it is, and then type here to see if it auto completes, and it does. So we know we're getting it from the right place. All right, cool. So this is starting to get into the new stuff. All right. What do we need to do to connect this to our reducer? Does anybody remember the syntax?
Is this where we start adding the map state to props and all that good stuff?
Yep. That's exactly right. Okay, so the connect function needs two arguments. One argument is going to be like the state, right? Map state to props equals, and I think this is a function. Does it take state as an argument? It would make sense if it did. And we want to return. The way this is going right now, we could just put something like this, state.
Do you need a const in front of that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you do. If you don't put a const in front of this, it makes it a global variable, and that's not something you usually want with JavaScript. And it might even throw an error in React strict mode. I'm not sure though. So we're just returning state, and the reason I'm doing that is because the way this project is written right now, it has all the state inside of app, and then it passes it down. But we're going to eventually restructure this in a way that it doesn't do that. All right. So we're returning our state object to props. Which means that all of this is going to become props, I believe. So props. But we'll mess with that here in a second. All right, so map dispatch to state, is that right? Dispatch to state. And this is an object. What needs to go inside of this object?
Remove.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I mean, like.
Might be let's see.
The thing that you put on the actions folder?
Yes. That's exactly right. And those were, we called them the same thing. So it's remove feature and by item. All right, so here we go, remove feature and by item. Okay, so what we have here is exactly the same as this feature. This is just a handy thing from ES6 that allows us to not do this. If we have a key that we want to be the same as the value, then we can just do this. And what that means is that if we wanted to change the names of these, banana and pineapple, we could. And that would mean that our remove feature function would be accessed by props.banana. I just want to make sure that was clear what's going on there.
When I save it, I get a dispatch is not defined.
Dispatch is not defined.
But I'm not using.
Oh.
I didn't put dispatch anywhere.
Do you still have it here, like not commented out?
No.
Oh, yeah, you guys are like still running stuff. So, I mean, it could be anywhere. Just make sure you comment all this stuff out. Like I haven't even checked my, because we don't have our functionality built yet. So I haven't even checked my failed to compile. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of state is not defined. So we're not really ready to look at our code yet because we haven't added our functionality.
Okay.
Remove feature and by item, you imported that from where?
From
our actions. Okay.
Yeah, actions.car actions/car actions.
Actions / car action.
Hey, Vincent, can you show me your index again? I missed just one step in there, I think.
Yeah.
So we are wrapping app in the provide. Oh, okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah, actually, I'm still trying to line 14. What's going on? The provider finishes. It's there in front of the app. So app is in between providers. Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's go back to app.js because we still haven't done, all we've done is we've defined this function and we've defined this object. We have not actually used them yet. So what do I need to do now?
You need to connect inside the map state to props.
Yeah.
Not dispatch to state.
Oh, that's wrong. Thank you for saying that. I would not have noticed that. That should be
Dispatch to props?
Yeah, it should be to props. Exactly right.
Get
Not bad.
props.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, and this returns a function, and we immediately use that function to wrap around app or whatever. So
what does connect do?
So connect is connecting this app to the reducer is the way I think of it. And it's also passing state to the props of the app and passing these functions to the props of app.
Okay.
Okay, now this syntax right here, does this seem weird to anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what's really happening there, right? So we have, first of all, we have this function. All this is a function that returns another function. So we can actually add that to a variable. Const connect higher order function equals connect. All right. So now we can pretend that this value contains whatever function is returned from this function. And then we could do connect right there. So really all that was shorthand for this. Because basically all it's happening is this connect function is returning another function. But this is more typing, so we do it the other way.
So,
that made it more confusing.
Oh, well, that sucks.
when you had it the other way, why would there be an error code? Oh, because app's not.
Oh, I mean, there could be tons of errors going on right now because we haven't finished.
I got it. It's because I didn't have parentheses around app.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So we are now connected to our Redux store. So all of these values are going to be coming from props instead of state. So we actually need to change all this to props.
Anything with state is props?
Yeah, because of the way we've done it right here.
Right.
Now, if we would have done something like this, I had car equals state dot props, then we would have to do props dot car, props dot car dot additional features, stuff like that. Okay, so state is not defined somewhere. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay, props is not defined, so we did not pass in props here. So that's a change you guys might have to make. Pass props down. We're still getting a failure. Oh, okay, this is the failure you were talking about, Liz. Dispatch
Yes.
is not defined in
It is in the
car.
actions folder or files.
Oh, dispatch. Yeah, that makes sense that it wouldn't be defined because, like, where is it?
From what we learned, we don't need to add a dispatch there, only add a return.
Yeah. So we're actually just returning. We're just returning the object. Is that right?
Yes.
That's right. All right. And that confusion is probably mostly to do with, okay, at least this is my excuse because we just copied and pasted this code. That's my excuse. Take it for what it is. It's an excuse. Okay, useReducer is defined but never used. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, this is all stuff from our old code. Okay, so let's see.
And why do we not say dispatch there? Why don't we just simply return it?
Just because that's the syntax. Like the thing is like, where are we getting this from? You know what I'm saying? Like there's no dispatch anywhere to be calling. And that's the problem. So really when we call this action, all we need to do is return our action object.
Doesn't
Yeah.
connecting it through the store handle the dispatch?
Oh yeah. So let's see where we at. So yeah, we've connected, we've got this right here. I think that's how that's all covered. The crazy thing is like this is not the way I usually use Redux. So I maybe can't explain this as, you know, eloquently as I could if we were using it the way I use it. But yeah, so I think the place that the actions actually get inserted is inside of the connect. Where's that app? Right here. All right. So we're actually telling app or connect, hey, these are the functions that we're using to dispatch your action objects. That makes any sense. So this is abstracted away from us, that dispatch function. I hate that.
Yeah. I got a failed compile because it can't resolve Redux, so I just need to install it.
Oh yeah, yarn add Redux. So there's like some kind of like voodoo behind the scenes of React Redux that is automatically mapping this stuff to our reducer.
Voodoo.
Yeah.
So if I stick pins in my computer screen, what happens?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe Dan Abramov will like get a bloody nose or something. Dan is one of the people that works on React. All right. So here, let's look at this and see if it's actually working with all the changes. I think that's ready to go already. No, it is not.
I think it's adding, it's just not rendering.
Line 1, column 1, syntax error in manifest. That's awesome. All right, so let's think about this. Oh, this is our problem right here. Because we have, these are now inside of props. So we need to.
Props.
All right, So that would probably fix that. Let's go back and test it. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that is the current version, the current way that we're being taught to use Redux with Connect. And the funny thing about all this is the way it's being used, at least right now, is not any more efficient than using useReducer or using useState, because we're still got all of our state and functions coming to one area and being passed down to props. So you could make multiple connections, right? So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to do multiple connections using the connect function multiple times to, you know, not have all our stuff passed down to props. This is still not the best way to do it, but it's good for us to stretch ourselves, and really get our heads around how all this is working. All right, so we don't
argument for the app function inside of app.js.
Say that again. I didn't hear the question.
What is your argument for the app function inside of app.js?
The app function?
Props. Okay, just wanted to make sure it was
props. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's props. Okay, so what actual piece of state and dispatch do we need in this function, in this component, app.js specifically? It doesn't look like we need anything, does it? Because it looks like all of our state is actually being used in other components. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new, let's go ahead, git add added code for inefficient lambda method. Git check out the lambda Redux more efficient. I guess. Git push uorigin.
So are you about to show us the hooks?
No, this is actually going to be using the connect in a way that makes more sense. Because right now we still have our state only going to one component and we're passing it all around in props. So now we're going to be accessing our store and our dispatch from other components using connect, using this connect method.
Right.
All right, awesome. So we don't need this because we're going to get that from the store. Don't need these because we're going to get that from the store. We don't need any of these because we're going to get it from the store. We don't need these either. So I think we can actually erase most of this stuff, but I'm going to copy it. Or maybe it would be good to go ahead and write it again. I don't know. We don't even need this either. Okay. We don't need this anymore. We're not going to need this. Let's go ahead and copy some of this code over to some of our other components. All right, so we'll go to header first. Header is going to need connect. I'm just going from the top down. So header is going to need to connect to the store. But it doesn't need any methods, I don't think. Let's see, where were we at? App, where's that? App. So we're not going to need to import these. All right, awesome. So it needs the actual car. So let's get into it. We need map state to props. I always forget that const. And every time I do, I think about Liz because she's the one that told me about it. Map state to props equals, it's a callback function. So, and we want to return. Now, here's the thing. We don't actually need the entire state for this component. That would be really inefficient to bring all of the state in here. It only needs the car, right? Is that right? Car, car. It just needs car. So let's do that. Car equals state dot car. No, that's not right. Oh, no, yeah, that is right. State dot car. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah, I think that's good. Return props.car. Okay, I think that'll work. And in that case, it would be the same, wouldn't it? We don't even have to rewrite this code, is that right? All of this would be the same? Oh my God, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Just still props.car. Let's go.
Do we have to do the dispatch and all of these little child elements or child components?
The thing is like we don't need any of the dispatch functions, right? Because there's no actual methods being called. So I'll show you what we're going to do. We're still going to do the connect. So we're going to need to connect because we actually need to connect to our function or our reducer, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and the first thing is the map state to props. Now we don't need any dispatch stuff going on here. So there's a few things we can do. I think we can just pass in null. I'm not sure about that. I guess we'll find out. I think we can just pass in null because we don't actually need to pass anything to props here. If this turns out to be an error, what we'll do is we'll pass in an empty object. And whether this is acceptable or not is all going to depend on how connect was written. It could be like they were really defensive and they wanted to make sure that only objects were passed in to this second argument. And if that's the case, they would throw an error and force us to pass in an object. But I'm just going to assume they'll allow us to pass in null for now. All right, and I think that would be it for that. Now we can't test this at the moment because we've broken all of the rest of our code. So we're just gonna have to like wait until we fix everything else and then see what's broken at the end. So if I could redo this, what I would do is only break them one at a time so we could actually test and make sure everything's going right. All right. So there we go. What is next on the menu? Added features.
What about total.js?
Oh, that's going to be last. It's going to be last. I'm just going top down, top down. Nothing more complicated than that.
I don't know if this was covered before, but like when you're setting up your store and where you connect cannot be the same place. It has to be, the store has to be one level up, correct?
Oh.
My understanding was that store kind of just was in this magical zone that.
Well, it's right here, right above app.
Yeah.
So anything,
at the index.
Yeah, anything between these two has access to the store. So, and we've wrapped app in here. So anything in here or below is going to have access to it.
Best practice is to put it on the index instead of the app. Because originally when I did mine, I put it on the app and then tried to connect, and it was throwing all kinds of errors. So I was just wondering if it was one of those things like.
Where did you put it? Did you put it right here, wrapped around this, or did you put it like wrapped around this? Like, where did you put it inside of the app?
Oh, in app, I put it around the top of the render or the return. I put everything inside of the provider.
So you put it like up here?
Well, no, I put the store, define the store above it, and then I put the provider tags around the boxes, with all these divs in there.
You put it around this? So
Yeah.
like, that should have worked. There's no reason that shouldn't work, because
But
you're
then when I
essentially doing exactly the same thing.
Well, yeah, but when I call connect to try to connect it to app, it threw errors.
Oh, I got it, because the store's not created until this is rendered. So, and you're trying to connect it right here. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes more sense.
Yeah, so it does need to be one level up from where you try to connect.
Yeah, if you're using this method, it makes sure it makes sense. Although, we actually don't even need to connect right here, do we? Because we're not using anything. Yeah, so we can actually erase this. And we can erase this as well. All right.
Wait, why did we erase all that?
Because we actually don't need to connect app to our store, because it's not using any of the state or its dispatch. So we don't actually need to connect it. Let's go ahead and erase all this crap too, while we're at it. And I'm going to leave this here because I'm going to copy it and paste it here in a little bit. Okay. Awesome. That's really interesting, Brittany. I'm glad you brought that up. I hadn't thought of that before, but it makes sense now that you mention it. All right, we're down here on added features now. Okay, added features needs access to the dispatch remove feature, and it needs access to the features inside of car. All right, but it doesn't necessarily need access to car specifically. So we can probably just get features from state. All right, so let's go ahead and get started there. Import connect, I think that was from React Redux. Redux. Why is it not auto-completing? Redux connect. Yes, awesome. All right, this one is going to be a little different. So we need to get our state ready. Map state to props. It's going to equal state. We're going to return. It's going to return it inside of an object. We'll call it features. What is it calling it? It's calling it props.car.features. So we will have to refactor it a little bit. Features, and that's going to equal state dot car dot features. I think that'll work. And we are going to need, what are we going to need? We're going to need remove feature. So that means we're going to need to import that from actions. And that's exactly when I wanted to copy and paste this. So I'm cutting from app.js, and I'm adding it to add features. But we only need remove feature, so I'm actually going to delete by item from this. App dispatch to props. This is just an object, so remove feature. All right, there we go. And we want to, of course, use our connect right here. So connect. And we're going to pass in map state to props and then map dispatch to props. Now keep in mind, this is just JavaScript. So if you wanted to do something like this, features state.car.features and something like this, you could do that as well. That's perfectly valid. And that way you wouldn't even need this stuff. So it's completely up to you. It's just JavaScript. It can be written any way you want to write your JavaScript.
How'd you have for connect parentheses and then the name of those two functions inside of it?
Yep. The first argument was map state to props, and the second argument was map dispatch to props. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this, just so anyone who sees this knows that that's an option. Are you
Can I
guys?
see your imports on that file?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, everybody good with this? I'm about to erase it.
Think so.
All right, cool. All right, so now our features are no longer in props.car.features, they're in features. So we need to erase car here.
Quick question. You just deleted those two variables from added features.js?
Yeah.
So how are you able to export them if you don't have them declared?
I'm not exporting them anywhere. So remember, let's see, where were we at? Okay, here we are. Remember what this is. This is a function, right? All this is setting this function to this variable. So whenever you're passing in like map state to props, you're essentially passing in this code.
Okay.
So if you didn't want to do that, you could just do this. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same code.
So you're saying delete the variables if you wrote it like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't. So
yeah. Don't worry about it then. Yeah. I'm just leaving it in there so anyone, as a reference for myself and anyone else who sees this. All right. So we now have features in props. So we don't need props.car.features. Let's go ahead and erase that. Okay.
Wait, why do we not need car?
Because where we set up our props here, we only created an object that has the features. So if we here, let's get into it. In this case, it would be props.car.features because we're returning an object that has a car property that is referring to an object that has the features property. But we don't need the information for car. All we need is the information for the features. So I decided to skip all that. You could also do something like this. Car equals state.car, like this. And this is probably what you were thinking, Liz. Something like this. And that would be fine. It's completely valid. But now you have this component having access to the entire car object when all it needs really is just the features. And in the case doing it this way, then you would need props.car.
Another way I think of explaining that is because you're more specific down there in your connect statement. You don't have to be as specific in your actual JSX.
Yes, I like that. All right, let's see if I can undo all this. I think that's good. All right. All right, props.remove feature will be the same. This is all going to be the same because this is inside of a map. So I think that one is good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and exit this and this because we don't need to see it for now. All right, so what is next on app.js? We have additional features, which should be really similar to what we've done on added features. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this code from the added features. I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to change remove feature to by item because I think that's what they need. Yeah, by item. I'm going to go ahead and make my map state to props and stuff. Map state to props equals state. And we're going to return an object that we just need features, right? So I'm just going to call this features instead of additional features. And that's going to be from state dot additional features. And then we're going to need to map dispatch to props. Dispatch to props. And that's going to equal an object. And we only need our by item for this one. So there we go. And these are variables, by the way, so this could be anything, right? So if you want, you could, this would be a little confusing, but you could do something like this, state and dispatch, because these are just variable names. They could be anything you want them to be. But as always, it's good to stick with the convention. We know we're going to be using a higher order function, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap additional features inside of parentheses. We're going to pass in map state to props and map dispatch to props, and we're good to go. But the way we're accessing our information is actually going to be different. So we're actually not going to be getting our information from props.additional features. Where are we going to be getting it from?
Props.features?
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Props.features. And that's because that's what I called the property. I'm basically naming the property right here. This is the name of the prop. Features. All right, props.byItem, that is exactly what we need. So I think that is good. And by the way, the reason I'm still passing by item to props for each additional feature and added feature is just because it would be hard to, actually, it wouldn't be hard to. We actually could get access to these pretty easily just with connect. But these we wouldn't be able to. These pieces of state would be hard to, it wouldn't be hard, but it'd be a lot of extra code to isolate the exact item we want for that piece of state. So this way is just easier. If you guys want to later, we can do this without passing by item to each one of these. It's kind of tempting because that would mean that we wouldn't actually need dispatch for added features are additional features.
I'd like to see it done that way.
Okay, cool. So that's, I mean, it's really easy. Let's go ahead and do it. So that way, that means we're actually not going to need this. Make sure, yes, because this actually doesn't need it. So we're going to go null here. And we're going to erase this because that'll throw an error. All right, and we're also going to change it here. So I'm going back into added features, guys. And the second argument instead of map dispatch to props, I'm just going to put null. Is everybody cool with that? And we're also going to have to remove feature.
Is that going to affect the way that we work with the child components of these two?
Yeah, it is going to change some things to some extent. Yeah, it is. But it makes a lot of sense to do it this way because there's really no reason for us to access those dispatches here. All right. So
would you mind going to additional features again?
Yeah, of course.
See what you changed. So you just took out the by item that you were passing down an additional feature?
That's right.
Okay. And then did you just get rid of dispatch to props altogether?
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. And you're doing the same for added features.
Yeah.
Same process. Okay. Except it's a remove feature.
All right. Since we're doing this, let's go ahead and go down to their child components. So now we're going to go down to added feature. Added feature is going to need access to this stuff as well. Actually, Control C this. And I'm going to copy this from added features. And then I'm going to remove this because it doesn't need it. Then I'm going to paste it in added feature. All right. So we don't actually need a map state to props because this function isn't using any state. So all we really need is a map dispatch to props. Equals, and we probably want it to be, yeah, just remove feature. And still going to need to use connect because we need to connect to our store. Since we're not using any of the state, we can just put null here. And then we're going to pass in map dispatch to props right here. All right. And remove feature is going to be in props. So this doesn't even have to be rewritten.
What was that last part again?
Props.remove feature is the same way we're going to access it now that we're using this connect method, this map dispatch to props, so we don't even have to rewrite this. This is still going to be the same.
You need a const before that map dispatch to props.
Yes, thank you. Gosh damn, why do I keep forgetting that? Thank you.
No problem. I just happened to notice it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably other times I've done that now. We'll see whenever we run code. Okay, so we need to do the same thing here. Copy these from added feature. Paste them into additional feature. Of course, it's going to be by item, right? By item, yes. By item. I'm not going to like actually write map dispatch to props this time. So our first argument is going to be null, and our second argument is going to be an object that contains by item. And again, by item is going to be accessed the exact same way through props, so we don't have to rewrite that. All right, so now we need to get to total. Is everybody good, by the way, with added feature and additional feature?
I think so.
Could you just maybe go over them once more really quickly?
Sure. So all we're doing, we basically decided that we do not want to pass this dispatch function remove feature down through props. We decided we want to connect this component directly to the store, the Redux store. So we've used our connect function to connect them, and we've mapped this remove feature function to the props of added feature. Now using that, those props, we're accessing it here to handle our onClick method.
Cool.
All right, awesome. Okay, we have one more component to do, and then we're going to start getting into hooks. Let's go ahead and get out of these. Well, I guess first we have to test to make sure this is still working. There might be some little mistakes somewhere. All right, total needs access to price and additional price, but it doesn't need access to any methods. All right, so we just need connect, and I'm just going to import it. Import connect from React Redux.
Hey, Vincent,
Sure, what's up?
do you know that if you start typing connect down at the bottom, it'll auto import it?
What? Thank you, I appreciate that. So if I would have done it right here, would have auto imported? Oh, dude, that would have made. Thank you for that. All right, so we don't need, or no, we do need access to state. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a map state to props. State to props equals state. And we're going to return an object that is going to contain the price of the car and the additional price. So I think what I'm going to do is have one be price and the other one be additional price. So this is going to be in state.car.price. Now we want additional price, and that's going to equal state.additional price, I believe. And now we need to pass that map state to props, right? Map state to props, and we don't need any dispatch, so we'll set that to null. All right. Now our props look different than they did before. We don't actually need car here, so that's going to change. This is going to be exactly the same. We have additional price right here. And I think that's good. I think that will make everything work. Anybody else need to look at this before I test it? I think I am seeing some errors. Here, let's look at it. Map state to props is not defined online on total. Did I forget the const again? I sure as hell did. Wow, dude. Wow. It's the little stuff, man, that really catches you. Okay, I'm still getting an error.
You know, when you do class component, you don't need the const, right?
Say what?
When you do class component.
Oh, yeah.
That's very confusing right there.
Yeah, it is. But that's not a good excuse for me because I don't write class components very often. I do sometimes, but not very often. Expected an assignment or function call and instead saw an expression. Added features line 23. Added features line 23. So maybe this is actually going to give us a problem. Let's see if that's the problem. That might be it. So I can't do that after all. State const map state to props. Map state to props. State.
Who decided on that name for the variable?
I know, right? I mean, it does tell you what it does, but it's so long. And we want to return this. All right. Let's see if that gets rid of our problem.
No, it's the other
It did
one.
not.
Oh, additional features.
Let me see that again. Oh, it's the same. I did the same thing in additional features. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha. So that is the problem, though. I bet. Oh, it's this.
No, I think it's the other file, the one that ends
Oh,
with
additional features. Duh.
These names are also similar. It's very confusing.
What? Instead, saw an expression. Expecting this on line 23.
You're missing pair of
Oh.
brackets.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but this should be,
return, maybe?
well, that's the thing though. Like,
Yeah.
what's probably happening here is it's thinking that this is a bracket for the function instead of considering it a object.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're returning undefined. Here, let's see if we do that, see if that'll help us. No, it doesn't like it. Oh, it's showing us a different error. All right, let's go ahead and return this. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna return this. Then we're going to close it right there. All right, let's see if that gets us past that error. Okay, it did. Module not found, cannot find actions, car actions. Okay, this is probably a problem where I just copied and import and didn't pay attention to where the component I was importing it into actually was. Added feature.
Yeah, you have to go up a file.
Yeah, I bet you're right. Where is the import? Okay, right here. Wait a minute, that's not the right import, is it? Hold on a second. Added feature cannot resolve car actions.
Yeah, it's the other file without the S and the N.
All right. Okay, right here. All right.
Dot dot.
Yep, that makes sense. Yep. That makes sense. Actions, car actions. All right, and I probably did that somewhere else too. Additional features. It's probably all over this project. All right. And
It's on the other file with the S and the N.
features. This is what happens whenever you
Actually,
copy and paste.
you could just delete the import and add
Oh
additional
yeah, that's right.
features.
Yep, yep. Good eye, good eye.
And there's probably one in added features.
We're working. Let's see if we
Oh,
get any
you got that.
errors. Or spoiler. It's working. It's working. Okay, awesome. So that is the React Redux version. In my opinion, it's really cumbersome and hard to do. It's hard to use. So we're going to refactor this next using hooks.
Would you mind going to your total file?
Yeah.
Total.js? I'm having an error right now.
Sure.
Oh, I think I know why. I still have the .car.price in that total amount.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and push these changes to this branch. Shit. And delay. No props. No prop drilling. That's what I'll say. No prop drilling. Right. Good. Check out. Web. What time? 18. Okay, so let's get rid of all this crap. Okay, so we don't have any need for any state, our dispatch here. Header, we did need state. All right, awesome. Here we go. Let's go. Okay, first I need to remember where we're going to use the useSelector hook. All right. And the useSelector hook pretty much works exactly like map state to props, guys. All right. So let's add car. Say const car equals useSelector.
Hey, Vincent.
Sure. What's up?
I was just going to let you know that I need to head out, but I want to say thank you so much.
Oh,
You've
yeah,
been
no problem, man.
A
My pleasure.
lifesaver.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. And I have slow internet, so it's going to take a while, but I will try to upload this to YouTube as soon as possible, and then I'll post it in the After Hours channel.
Great. Thank you. I'll see you guys later.
See you, man.
Yeah.
See you, Kyle. I'm gonna say the same thing, Vincent.
All right, right on, man.
So thank you so much for clarifying so many things.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
See you.
See you. You guys take care. All right, so it works almost exactly the same. We're using useSelector to get the exact piece of state that we want, and we're adding it to the value of car. So now we can just change this to car. Oh, wait a minute, what's happening here? There we go. Okay. And that should work just right there. But we also need to get rid of this connect method. Look at how much easier that is. We want to get something from state. All we have to do is import useSelector and tell it which part of state we want. So much easier. So much easier.
Why you leave the props in the header? Does that still need
We
to
actually don't need it. We don't actually need it. So if you wanted to do something like this, no problem. We don't need props anymore. So yeah, we could totally do that. And look, we're still getting our information. So it is connecting.
Wow.
So there we go.
That's magic.
I know, right? Like when I first learned about these hooks, I was like, why is Lambda not teaching us about this stuff? And I don't know if they'll eventually introduce this stuff or not, but back when I was
I can understand learning the hard way. So you know what's going on underneath it all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other than all these abstraction layers.
Yeah, because you can kind of see what's happening here. You know, this is an abstraction of map state to hooks with connect, right? Because that's probably what we still have underneath the hood. Just a lot less code. All right, let's go. Keep going down the line. All right. So I think the next thing we'll just go in order of where they are in my browser, in my VS Code browser. So we got total next. Total just needs access to state. So here's what we can do. We can do, let's go ahead and export them as an array so we don't have to use two useSelector hooks. And this is personal preference. If you wanted to use two useSelector hooks, that's totally fine. Equals useSelector state equals And it's going to be state.car.price and state.additional price, like that. And we'll export them right here, price and additional price, like that. And that will change this. So we don't need props anymore. It's just going to be price. We don't need these props either, as Rob said. And we also don't need all of this crap. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my God, I love it. All right, so is everybody cool with moving on from this one?
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I should probably test to make sure this is working. Okay, yeah, it is working.
I've had a import error for like 10 minutes now.
Where-
Just show you my screen and you might be
Yeah.
able to fix it.
Yeah. Go ahead, throw it up.
Thank you. So it's an index. It's this one right here. Car reducer from hooks, reducers, and reducer.
Okay, so you're accessing this from index.js.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Because
index.js.
it needs to get pushed in here, right?
Yeah, I'm just like trying to follow the, okay, index.js. We got hooks, reducers, reducer. All right, and okay, so you're sure car reducer matches your function name, right?
Yeah, there it is right there.
Okay, yeah. So, and it's actually an export default. So if you, oh, you're not exporting it. You're export defaulting it. Okay, so in your exports object, there is nothing called car reducer.
Right, yeah. Nice.
All right, we got something else though.
It's probably header components. Header.
It's saying that there's no export default inside of header.
Look at that.
You gotta love it whenever the errors are actually like explicit as to what's happening. Okay, state is not defined in total.
This is what we just worked on.
Yeah. Interesting. Let me make sure. Let me see if I'm getting the same error.
It looked like yours was working.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not getting any error. That's interesting. Okay. Now, do you have the provider wrapped around app.js?
Oh, in here?
Yeah, index.js. Provider store equals store, car reducer. Yeah, that all looks right. All right, let's go back to where your error is, I guess. Total. And it's saying state is not defined. Line 6. What? It should automatically have access to state.
Why are these states in blue and this state not in blue?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to wrap those in an array. Okay, gotcha. The state.car.price and state. They both together need to be inside of an array.
Oh, together?
Yeah, because we're exporting them as an array, so they need to be. I mean, we're destructuring an array on the return, so we need to return them as an array. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So it's clear in here, but in my thing it says.
You must pass a component to the function before. Oh, okay. So you've got connect going somewhere. Added.
All right. I think it was on added features, right?
Yeah, but why is that throwing an error now? Because mine's not doing that. And I haven't changed mine yet. Let's look at your error again in the browser.
Yeah.
So we received an empty object. You must pass a component to the function returned by connect. So it's getting an empty object instead of the added feature component. That's interesting.
You've got the two map variables in two separate parentheses.
There you go. Gotcha. Dude, Liz, you're on fire today. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, that's probably gonna show up a few times. Then what is this additional feature? Say name. It's not defined.
Cannot read property name of undefined. Okay, so that's going to be a problem in additional features. Let's go to additional features. Okay, feature equals item.
There's got to be a problem here. There you go.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there are a few problems there.
Yeah.
I hate S's now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. The cool thing is, like, I love it, like, when the errors start falling like a bunch of dominoes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's
once you
very
find that first one, you know, like, it allows you to find the next one. Okay, where were we? Okay, I think we were right here. Is that right? Let's
We've
go
just
back.
done total.
We just done total. So total's good. So I guess we're gonna go to added feature next. Yes. Okay, so what do we need here actually? State. We need features. Okay. Okay, so I'm in added features, guys. I'm gonna get useSelector, and I'm gonna get features from useSelector. Const features equals useSelector state, and we want to return state.features. No, wait a minute. No, that's not right, is it? Is that right? State.car.features, maybe? Added features, state.car.features. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, here it is right here. State.car.features. I forgot the shape of our data there for a second. Okay, features is no longer in props, so we can remove this. Move it up here as well. And we can remove all this junk. Thank goodness. Save that. Don't see any errors going. I'm gonna go ahead and test real quick. Should see if it's working correctly. We should see stuff down here. We are, so it is working. Isn't that freaking awesome? I just cannot get over that. We've got like one extra line of code going on here. And we've gotten rid of like three lines of code and like tons of complexity with that higher order connect function. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
By the way, you can auto import useSelector also.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
I just like to save typing wherever I can.
Yes, thank you. Me too, because I am actually not a very fast typer. I can do 40 words per minute on a good day, on a very, very good day. All right, added feature. So this one's going to be a little different because we're going to actually be using dispatches, right? So I want to replace connect, so I'm going to go ahead and type it up here anyway. Use dispatch. And the way I usually do this is const dispatch equals use dispatch, like this. Now we have access to the dispatch function, which means we can send actions to the reducer. So that's going to change the way this looks to some extent. So we're going to have dispatch. And as the argument, we're going to pass our remove feature. But remove feature needs something. What does it need? It needs the actual
Feature?
props.feature. That's right. Okay. I'm not sure if it's going to let us get away with this or not. Yeah, I think it will, because it'll call this immediately, which is fine, and this will essentially equal the dispatch, the action object that's returned from this function. So yeah, that will be fine. Okay. All right, so we take that out. Thank goodness. No more higher order functions. All right. And I think that should be good to go. What are we on here? Added features. And this is removing from added features. So let's check that. V6 engine. Let's go. Isn't that crazy how easy it is?
Hang on, I've got something in my added features wrong.
Added features?
Yes, with an S.
Here, let me get rid of this so you can see the entire component.
I've got cannot read property of map. Oh, I missed a props. If that does it. Now we're working.
All right, cool. As a matter of fact, we can probably get rid of this, right? We don't actually need props anywhere in here. All right, so we were just in added feature. Everybody got this up and running?
Yep.
All right, cool. So at this point, it's pretty much like rinse and repeat. We're in additional feature. We want to use dispatch again. Const dispatch use dispatch. And this is going to be and we don't need the props on this anymore because it's not going through props. All right, I think that will work right there. Of course, we want to get rid of this connect as well. All right, I'm going to test it real quick, then I'll bring it back up. Oh, let's go. All right. That's just so crazy to me, like how much easier it is. Like whoever designed these hooks deserves like a big, wet, sloppy kiss, man. It's like, that's how good it is. All right, everybody good with this? We can move on to additional features. I think additional features is the last thing we need to change.
I'm good.
I'm fine too.
All right, cool. So what do we need access to in additional features? We just need access to state. So we're going to be using useSelector again.
Use reduce, right?
use
Oh,
selector.
useReducers. Yeah.
Yeah. And we need access to features. Const features equals use selector state dot additional features. All right, and we're not going through props anymore, so we can get rid of this crap. Get rid of this connect stuff. It's so cool. It's like basically this connect crap is like abstracted away from us. And I'm really happy about that because it's just not, it's not good to look at. It's a lot more typing. Redux is already a lot of typing. We don't need more typing. I think that's it. Let's check and make sure this works. Additional features. Looks like it's working. Yeah, it's all working well. It's awesome. Am I missing anything, guys? Is that all the state updated to use hooks? See, let's look at all our components.
I think it is.
That's awesome, man. That was quick, wasn't it? That's crazy. Hooks are just so
Nice.
much better, man.
So can I submit this and get a 3 on the project?
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah, I went into this realizing that, by the way. I was like, you know, a lot of people could essentially copy this code and get a 3. But the thing is, like, they'd only be hurting themselves, right? The important thing is, to me, like, I feel like if they really watched this and really followed along and really listened, they would probably learn just as much, if not more, than if they had like struggled through this themselves. And they're like, I could tell there's a ton of people having trouble. So I really wanted to, this is important. Redux is really powerful.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of students stumble and fail. So if we can stop that right here, right now, man, that's awesome.
Absolutely. And you did a great job teaching it.
Appreciate it.
It makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, sometimes it takes somebody that's just barely above your level to teach you something because they understand like what was a little weird to you, you know?
I think you're more than just barely above.
I doubt that. Remember, there's nothing special about me, guys. I am just further along in the program.
Yeah.
You're just honest. Sorry.
But yeah, at the moment, my project is a 1. So I'm not going to submit this, but I'm going to.
You could. I don't know why.
I could, but I'd rather go back to mine and see if I can fix where it's broken.
Nice. I like that. I like that, actually. That kind of attitude and work ethic is going to serve you well. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You
What were you
have
saying?
time to look at and see if what I did was right.
Yeah, sure. Why don't I stop recording
It's not
real
this.
quick?
It's
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording real quick, guys.